Hello, this is IP Stories by 4IP Council, a podcast about innovation and intellectual property. Join us and you'll hear about the journeys through invention, creation, and IP understanding of our guests.
This episode is part of a tech transfer special, a series of interviews to better understand the transfer of knowledge from research centers, universities, and laboratories to the industry and our lives. I'm Marta.
And I'm Fernanda, and today we're happy to welcome to our podcast Dr. Isabel Vercauteren. Isabel, thank you so much for having this chat with us. First of all, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career?
My name is Isabel Vercauteren. I'm the CEO and also co founder of Aphea.Bio. My background is in plant biotechnology with a PhD in plant parasitic nematology. After a postdoc at the veterinary medicine school, I decided to not longer stay in academia but to move to the industry. And my first industry experience was at DevGen, which is now a Syngenta company where I held different positions, mainly in project management. My major industry experience was at Bayer Crop Science, where I worked for more than 8 years, mainly in the field of alliance management, licensing in and out, business development, and new ventures. In 2016, I was recruited by VIB, which is the Flemish Institute of Biotechnology, to join them as an what they call entrepreneur in residence. And there I had the specific task to develop a business plan and to raise the necessary capital to found a new company in the field of sustainable agriculture. And this is now known as Aphea.Bio, and today I'm still the CEO of this company.
Okay, great. So now that you mentioned Aphea.Bio, I think it would be great if you could tell our listeners a little bit more about the story behind its creation and what are you currently working on?
Yeah, Aphea.Bio was founded in 2017 as a spin off of the VIB, which I already mentioned, the Flemish Institute for Biotechnology. And Aphea.Bio is indeed aiming to build an agriculture for the future. We are developing biology based products that, on the one hand, can protect the resilience but also the growth of crops, i.e., we are making biostimulants and biocontrol products for agriculture. We are dedicated to a safe and healthy food chain with the help of novel, science based, and sustainable solutions. So, the creation of this company was driven by two main aspects, as I was already mentioning. First of all, the need for novel products driven by a need for solutions, and then the availability of technology. If you bring those two together, these were really the major drivers for the creation of our company.
Okay, thank you so much, Isabel. That's really interesting. It would be great to know as well what are you currently working on so that we can have more specific examples.
Sure. So Aphea.Bio is developing high quality, science based products that are based on novel and naturally occurring microorganisms. So, microorganisms, we can think about bacteria, fungi, and yeasts, and all with the intention to replace harmful chemical pesticides and synthetic fertilizer. So, our goal is really to drive the transition towards sustainable agriculture by providing efficient solutions across all agriculture product segments. So, we work mainly on biostimulants, so products that promote the growth of crops, but also biocontrol products such as biofungicides, bioinsecticides, and bioherbicides.
That's very interesting. And while doing my research, I saw that Aphea.Bio builds up on IP from both KU Leuven and Ghent University under the umbrella of the Flemish Institute for Biotechnology, as you already mentioned. Why is this, and how does this work?
VIB is indeed an umbrella organization clustering the major Flemish universities together. So, apart from doing excellent research, which is definitely a priority, the mission of VIB is also to valorize this research by creating startup companies, i.e., how can we translate basic research into a commercial product? And therefore, VIB has a department that is called New Ventures. And this New Venture department is really dedicated to scouting for innovation in the different universities. And that type of innovation that they are looking for should be the basis for starting a new company. And in the case of Aphea.Bio, it was a little bit peculiar because, in fact, the founding assets in our case and the technology came from two universities and not just one. So, on the one hand, we have all the metagenomics tools that were in fact developed for application in human microbiome studies that came from KU Leuven. And on the other hand, we have tools and technologies in microbiology and automated phenotyping that came from the University of Ghent. And both those assets really have formed the basis for our R&D technology platform.
Thank you so much for explaining a little bit more. Could you tell us about its unique technology platform?
Well, Aphea.Bio has developed an R&D platform, and we called it Apex. So it's also being registered and trademarked under this name. Apex is a combination of unique know-how and disruptive technologies, but really targeted towards selecting the winner microorganisms, because you have to imagine there are millions of microorganisms present in and around the plant, and we want to find the winning ones and develop them into an effective product that is ready to be used by farmers. So Apex enables us to, first of all, identify those microorganisms that are effective against a certain target pest, or it can be against a disease or a weed or a microorganism that we want to use for boosting the plants in a highly time and cost efficient manner. And during our discovery and development process, we identify candidate microorganisms that are highly efficient while at the same time having a low risk profile, because it's important that they do not pose any harm to, for example, non target organisms as well of the plants or even for human health. So we are really looking to very low risk profile microorganisms. And our platform is also versatile. So our platform that has the different steps from discovery to commercial launch can be adapted towards different crops and traits, enabling the development of new biological products. So currently we are covering row crops such as wheat and maize, but we also expanded our research to fruits and vegetables, which is a very important market for biological products. And again, doing that, we want to reduce the necessity of using synthetic fertilizer and chemical pesticides. And in, yeah, let's say the last 6 years, which is the lifetime of Aphea.Bio, since its inception, we have been developing a rich pipeline of products in all the different segments, going from biostimulants to biofungicides, bioherbicides, and bioinsecticides. And this is underpinned also by a broad and high value patent portfolio. So, on this basis, on the platform, Aphea.Bio has now a portfolio developed of around 30 products that we are going to launch to the market, let's say, over the coming 9 years. And our first product, which is a wheat biostimulant, is being launched in Poland as we speak. And so many more products are in the pipeline and will be launched very soon.
Well, that's incredible. I think it's such an important research and product development. It's really impressive. And also, we learned that Aphea.Bio successfully secured 70 million Series C funding round. So, first of all, congratulations to you and the entire team of Aphea.Bio, because this really is a very incredible achievement. Um, I'm curious to know what do you think are the key factors that contributed to reaching this milestone?
Well, I believe there are a couple of milestones to be mentioned, and I would like to highlight six of them for which I believe they were really determinant for raising this big amount of capital. We indeed have to stress that it's a big round, which was kind of oversubscribed. So initially we were targeting a little bit over 50 million. Okay, we landed with 70 million. So that's really a big round. And therefore, I believe there are a number of highlights to be mentioned that were kind of sufficiently convincing investors to invest in this round. So first of all, Aphea.Bio is a B Corp certified company. And that is a label, a golden standard that is being given to companies that are having a high impact on ESG, that are scoring very high on ESG. And indeed, Aphea.Bio is granted this B Corp certification, and we have a high impact on sustainability and sustainable agriculture more specifically. So, if you look at the Green Deal and the ambition of Europe, this is definitely an important label to have. Another point I would like to mention is that we are already, well, now 5 6 years on the road, we have developed ourselves into a leading product development company. And why is that? We have chosen from the beginning in our business plan to focus on crops, large acre crops such as maize and wheat, which is a field that very few dare to touch. So, in fact, it's a huge addressable market. It's an open market with not that much competition. So, we are a leading player in a huge market, which, of course, opens for investors also a very attractive business case. A third highlight I would like to mention is that we have a very broad and rich pipeline, both on biocontrol products and in biostimulant products, with high barriers to entry, i.e., we are not a one trick pony. And this is also important for investors to show that you have a lot of stuff in the pipeline. And if something goes wrong with one or another product, you still have a backup plan. And this is what we have been able to develop so far. And what is very important is a fourth highlight, which is a shown track record of success. So, our first product, our first wheat biostimulant, in the meantime, has received regulatory approval for market launch and is now being sold by one of the major seed companies, by Syngenta, which is also been in the press quite extensively. So we have shown that we can indeed bring microorganisms from early discovery into the market. So that is a very important aspect of the success of this round. As I mentioned before, we have other products on the horizon, and we see that we get a lot of traction from industry leaders, i.e., there is external validation of what we are doing and the pipeline we are developing. A fifth reason, or a fifth highlight at least, is that the business case we have built has an attractive financial profile. We can show strong future profits and large margins. Again, from a commercial point of view and from an investor point of view, is an important asset. And then finally, I think what is also very important and convincing is that Aphea.Bio has a highly skilled team that is dedicated and committed to R&D and innovation.
Well, that really sounded like a recipe to success to me. I was wondering, what's the role of IP in Aphea.Bio?
Well, I think on this question, I could be very short by saying that IP is crucial for Aphea Bio. And in fact, IP is a measure for the value of a company. Until you have really sales and revenue coming in, ip is another very important measure on the value. So here at Aphea Bio, each day we are really aiming to create novel and inventive technology. And as an example, to showcase that, I would like to mention that the products that Aphea Bio is developing are based on novel, naturally occurring microorganisms. And the novelty aspect of these microorganisms is important because our first mover advantage to this untapped microbial space allows us to build up a broad and high value IP position. And this is really contributing to a major competitive advantage. IP in Aphea Bio is broad, and it's broader than just filing patents. So we have to be conscious here to make the right decision on what we file, when we file it, and where do we file it. And sometimes we feel it's even smarter or more tactical not to file a patent application, but to deposit trade secrets, for example. And trade secrets on knowledge assets or know how, such as processes, recipes, and assays, could be a better way to protect your intellectual property rather than filing a patent application. One other aspect, maybe a last aspect of our IP strategy that I would like to mention is that trademarks are also part of our IP strategy. So, what we have done so far is that we registered the company name, but also the name of the technology platform. And as we develop products, we are also registering product names.
Okay, so I have a follow up question. So, in your opinion, what's the importance of IP for a startup?
Well, it's indeed continuing on the former statement I made on the importance of IP for Aphea. So, in my opinion, I think it will be difficult to create a startup without IP. IP will always be an important asset to expand the value of the assets of a company, but also to increase future productivity and to build this competitive advantage. So, IP is crucial for starting something, of course, unless you want to become a Me Too company, but I don't think this is the purpose of an innovative startup company. So, again, in short, it is very crucial to have a good basis of IP before starting a company.
So, staying in the topic of the startups, which challenges could a startup face in terms of IP, knowing that you have gone through that process?
Yeah, indeed. So, first of all, yeah, to be able to generate IP, you need to have certain criteria that you or checks that you can make. So before you can file a patent application, you need to show novelty. That is not so difficult. So if you have a novel microorganism, or you have a novel process, or you have a novel assay, you can show novelty. So novelty is not so difficult to show. Secondly, you need to show that the invention you make indeed contains an inventive step. So, meaning that you can it's not so obvious, to make this invention. And that is often where it gets already a little bit more difficult, that you can indeed show you have an inventive step. And a third criteria is that you have an industrial application for your invention. So this is really the start before you even think of filing a patent application. So do I have all those three check boxes checked? So it's novel, it's inventive, and I have an industrial application. Okay, if you have that, you can start your process of filing patents. And what we see, especially in startups, and that is a little bit tricky, is that the whole process is very costly. So imagining that startup companies do not necessarily have all the money of the world, being a little bit tactical with your process, where to file, when to file, is very important to keep the costs under control. So the cost aspect is really a challenge. Secondly, the examination, but also the prosecution process really takes a long time. So it can take 3, 4, 5 years before you know that your patent might be granted. And this creates quite some uncertainty whether or not you will get protection at the end of the day on your invention. And then lastly, a patent filing and prosecution is a continuous effort. So it's not because you have filed your application that you are done. You need to be able to monitor continuously. For example, on your freedom to operate. Am I still okay with using the technology that I'm using? And you never know if third parties might file oppositions against your patent or your invention. So it's really about the cost aspect, the time that it takes, and also the continuous effort that it needs to keep your patent portfolio alive and healthy.
Thank you, Isabel. I think that was very helpful.
Following up on that question, I was wondering what has been your biggest challenge?
Well, for me, fundraising is always a big challenge. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Aphea.Bio is fully financed by venture capital money. So we are really depending on venture capital, and their fundraising is always a tricky part. So far, we have been able to successfully raise 3 rounds. So the last round was our Series C round. Even though we were successful in the 3 rounds, each round has still been tough and lengthy. So it always takes more time and effort than anticipated, especially when I'm looking back to our Series C round, our last round. The market conditions were difficult. We have a difficult world to deal with. So we had quite some challenges there, which put a lot of pressure on valuations and making venture capitalists more cautious than they were before. So it really boiled down to, being able to position the company and its value in a unique way. Because venture capitalists these days, as I said, are cautious and they want to bet on the best opportunity that they get. So it's really important to position the company in a unique way that is attractive, and attractive enough to identify and appoint a lead investor. Because without a lead investor, it's impossible to create a consortium of investors around us that can bring the critical mass in terms of money. Once you have this critical mass of consortium members, of interested investors, then you're good to roll, and then things move. But indeed, for me, the biggest challenge was getting the most suitable lead investor in the round and building a consortium around it such that we could raise this big amount of 70 million euros.
That's very interesting, and I'm sure that other CEOs will identify with your answer. We're approaching the end, unfortunately, and as my last question, and to balance my previous one, I would like to ask you, what are you most proud of?
What comes first to my mind is my team. So basically, I'm really, really proud of the team. And because we talked about the successes of Aphea, we talked about the round, you talk about IP, but at the end of the day, none of this would have been possible without the team. And that is why I would like to really emphasize this, that without their dedication, we were not in the position that we are today. So currently, Aphea.Bio has 50 employees. So we started in 2017 with 4 people. We are having still a steep growth ahead of us. And so, but okay, the team is 50 employees today. The majority of the profiles we are having are scientists and technicians. So you can imagine that there is a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge in the company. We are a very diverse company. Um, we are approximately 50-50 men and women. We have 14 different origins, 14 different nationalities. And as I was saying, with a lot of different expertises and backgrounds, we are a very young company. So the average age that we are having is 36 years. And yeah, this diversity, for me, it's so important because it ensures complementarity between the people, both in terms of professional skills, but also in personal skills. We have an open minded atmosphere, and this triggers, of course, very interesting discussions, but opens also some interesting insights. The team of 50 people is led by a management team of 7 people. The founders of the company are part of this management team. But in total, we are a management team of 7 people. And this is important to keep the organization, of course, on the right track in the different disciplines. But also, what I find important is that we stay lean and mean. So we should not overdo the things. So we are organized in a matrix system, and this is the way we operate. And again, I would like to conclude that all the relevant expertise and dedication of the people has been the foundation of where we are today, and is for me largely explaining the success of the company.
Great. Isabel, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing a little bit more about your experience and Aphea.Bio.
Thank you. I hope I can, with this, inspire other people with this story of Aphea.Bio.
Thank you so much, Isabel, for spending this time with us and having this chat. And I hope everything goes really well in the future as well. Thank you for listening to IP Stories by 4IP Council. Visit our website on 4ipcouncil.eu to find out more and check out the links mentioned during this episode. If you liked it, remember to share and subscribe.